the Black girl who is standing between the life you left behind and the life you want. I see you, and this is for you. Welcome back to the Black Girl Seen podcast, where we talk all things being seen, known, and loved. I'm your host, Kaylin Wilson, a licensed clinical social worker and therapist in Atlanta, Georgia. If you're new here, this month we are talking about being a Black girl in bloom, where we explore the parts of some of the most challenging seasons and change as we move toward the healing we want and desire, and truly being seen. So earlier this month, we started off with talking about being in hiding and noticing that we want to change or experience change in our lives in the first place. Then we talked about being a Black girl in mourning, or navigating the grief of change and acknowledging that there are things we're leaving behind, things that maybe have been holding us back as we make room for what's to come. This week, I want to talk about what I think actually might be one of the most challenging parts of this, which is being in waiting, because it's literally waiting. It's literally feeling like there's nothing to do, which is very challenging, especially for those of us who that's what we do. We do things. We do. So I see you if you're already like, I don't like it, because I hear you. I'm right there with you. We're going to talk about what the heck to do in a season of waiting, different ways we could think about seasons of waiting, and how to make sure that we're actually showing up in that season in a way that facilitates the healing and experience of being seen that we want. So let's get into it. So, how am I allowing myself to be seen this week? And I hope you ask yourself this question too, because that's what this is for. It's for us to kind of get grounded into the space. As you can imagine, I think I told you that this series was sparked by a very specific experience that I'm having in my own life. So I absolutely feel like I am moving through all of the stages, but definitely in that season of waiting. How I'm allowing myself to be seen is trusting myself to be able to tolerate the discomfort of pacing. So I mentioned in the beginning that I normally force it. I normally floor it, press on the gas, make changes pretty impulsively, pretty quickly, need to see the payoff ASAP. And if I don't, oh, stressed, probably depressed, like everything in between. And so this is a season where, like I said, I'm slowing down, but the slowing down is more than just like, okay, I'm going to slow down and take breaks, because that's a part of it too. That's a little bit of why I wanted to do shorter episodes this month. And I kind of wanted to give some tailored, specific thoughts about quick topics instead of doing deep dives. I wanted to leave some room for some other things I'm trying to birth. And that birthing process is slow. There's some legit pacing that I'm holding myself to. And it's a little bit of both though. Like there's some pacing around slowing down and allowing myself to take it easy. But then there's this part of consistency. So there's a little bit of knowing that even though there's the discipline of not everything has to get done right now, there's also the discipline of, can I keep showing up for the thing along the way? Both are really hard, and that's what I'm doing right now. But it's allowing me to feel more seen, because I'm holding that line between honoring my capacity and growing my capacity, which feels very visible and very, very challenging to the self, because you can't show up in your protective behaviors in that way. You don't rush through things, but you also don't avoid them either. You're like in it. So if that feels helpful, I hope you take that too. And I'm going to expound a little bit about like what the season of waiting can be like. And I'm going to be corny and say that it really did make me think about Bridgerton. It made me think about Lady Danbury and how she got to a point where she realized, I don't want to be a lady in waiting anymore. And I was, spoiler alert, sorry, I was kind of like, wow, this name, A Lady in Waiting. So I did my little research thing, because that's what I do when I watch shows. And I realized like they were talking about waiting in terms of like actively like waiting on the queen. Like, I'm doing work for you. I'm like your second hand in a way. I'm doing your affairs, as you can see on the show. And I also like probably build rapport. I'm sure Shonda added some levels of like actual love and relationship there that maybe didn't exist back in that time, or maybe it did. I don't know. But I do think that it was fascinating to see that there was this parallel between, I'm showing up in this season and I'm sowing seeds, and I'm also not there where maybe I want to be, at least in this particular dynamic, not where I want to be. And I recognize that at some point, I won't be in waiting anymore. I will have to do the work to change and move myself to another space and what that whole process looked like. It just made me think of that. And so shout out to Shonda for that. With that being said, I will tell people waiting is really hard. I don't think it's a passive process at all. I think a lot of times we think waiting literally means I'm just sitting on my hands. And I truly believe that the season of waiting is maybe about an experience of being still. It's an experience of being in one place and not quite seeing things unfold yet. But in no way do I think it's actually passive. I think even if you are truly not doing anything, if you're not working or building, you are likely sitting with some important emotions, experiences, feelings that require that time and energy. And maybe your season in waiting is all about grief. Maybe your season in waiting is all about connecting with how you're hiding and how you want to be seen. Maybe all of this is a season in waiting. And yet I think this one feels really particular because I think it happens after you've done or started the work, but it's before you see the work pay off. And being able to stay in that season and stay in that moment is so hard. That's where I like to turn around because there's something about feeling like I have planted a seed and it's not growing right now. So that means it doesn't work. I have no shame. I'm a quitter. I am a quitter. I'm I'm impatient. I can be really impatient with things because there's such a strong connection to like if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, it's just gonna happen. That's so much of a branch off the tree of my work and my performance is my worth and my identity. So when life is hard, forget about life being hard. It's me who's not doing it right, right? So that's the way that it shows up for us. That's why learning to really be in this season can be so fruitful, pun intended. Well, it was unintended, but I'm glad it came out that way. That's why this season can be so fruitful because we sometimes abandon our goals, we abandon our dreams, we abandon our intentions too early because we learn that if it's not working when I want it to work or in the timing that I think it should work, it's because I messed it up or I'm not good enough or it's not meant for me, so I'm out. Preaching to the choir. And I think this is a beautiful way to call all of us to the carpet around how we can all create some tolerance or capacity to show up in the wait, to show up in the process, not just rushing to the outcome. So some things that come up for me when I think about being in waiting, I think about planting. I think about actually planting those seeds, actually doing the work and creating the momentum toward the things that we want. I also think about pouring. And so in some ways, it's like literally watering your plants, watering your garden to help see it grow and bloom, but also pouring into yourself, pouring into others, really filling and doing the nourishing work of this season. And then I also think about preparedness. I do think about preparation, something that I learned the hard way that I really appreciate. And this really to me resonates a lot for maybe those early to mid 20s when you really feel like you're supposed to have it all figured out. Ha ha ha. I will never forget one of my mentors who was like much older than me, who was like, I have children and a husband and the job of my dreams, and I still don't feel like I have it figured out. She really blessed me when she said that. Thank you for telling me that at that time in my life. And when I look back on those times, I thought I was ready and I was not ready. Not because I wasn't good enough, not because I didn't have what it took, but because I wasn't patient enough to actually prepare. I just wanted to do it. I just wanted to be there. And I get it. And the hunger and the desire, or even the anxiety that pushes us into that level of urgency, relatable, normal, and can it be a way that we've learned to skip steps? And sometimes this is, I'll say it plainly too. Sometimes this is just also being navigating neurodiversity, navigating some neurospiciness. And that's just kind of how our brains work. Like you kind of do just jump at things, or it kind of is hard to actually sit in something and be patient and wait for it to all come together. So these things don't always have even a quote unquote deeper tie to it, but there are things that we don't always honor. And we've, again, overvalued the ending. We think about the Oscar, the Emmy, we think about the album, we think about the painting, the job, the partner. We don't think about the middle. We don't think about the seventh date. No one tells a story about their seventh date. Maybe the seventh date was the date they fell in love because they actually had an argument and realized that they were safe to experience conflict together. Or maybe the eighth date was when they finally started opening up about things that happened in their past. And that's when things got real good. But it was also really, really scary because you're opening your heart to a semi-stranger. Like, we don't talk about that part. We just talk about the meet cute, and then we talk about the marriage. We talk about the day you decided you wanted to be a lawyer, and then the day when you made partner. So much in the middle, leaning into that book you read that changed your life, leaning into that paper you wrote that helped you realize what you wanted to specialize in, leaning into the volunteer opportunity that helped you connect with what level of community service you wanted to participate in your life, the day that you had that first fight with your friend and then you both forgave each other and you realized you could actually do that with them, and they're really someone you can love and lean on. That's the stuff that we don't really think about as preparing us or being so integral to what we want. We just feel like, I'm just still waiting. I'm just still in it. I don't know if he's it. I don't know if I'm going to get the job. I'm still on the market, or I'm still interviewing. I don't know if the business is going to work. I'm still building the infrastructure for it. I'm still applying to the grants. Again, I'm preaching to the choir. Lord knows I'm in it right now, and it's not easy. And what has helped me sustain in it is knowing that there have been moments in my life where, like, literally, I will be working. There'd be times in my life when I was working and something would come up and I'd be like, oh, I remember that. I remember that from class. I didn't pay attention that day. I was preparing for my internship the next day. I was concocting some kind of idea for something else, but I didn't want to be present in, like, the stuff right in front of me that was actually going to help those plans stick. And it's not to be self-deprecating to myself, and I know why I did or didn't do it. And also, we have so many expectations on ourselves. It's so hard in this society to really lock into things because we are being pulled in so many directions. And can we offer ourselves the gift of patience and pacing in the season? Can we offer ourselves the gift of preparation? Can we offer ourselves the gift of pruning things that we really don't need in a season where there's not pressure for it to all be cleared out? Can we offer ourselves some grace around nurturing and nourishing ourselves so that when we do get to the thing, we're ready? And so that's why I always start to ask myself, is my patience being tested, or am I being prepared? And I know that kind of sounds cheesy. I said that so many of these things are going to be cheesy, but when I'm in those moments where I truly just feel like I'm actually in it, it's like the middle of the workout class where I'm like, I don't want to be here anymore. Why did I come here? Why did I wake up this early for this? That's the part. That's where the fitness turns up. That's where you're tested. That's where you grow. The end of the class does not feel good if you don't show up in the middle of the class. And I'll say that because there's some classes where I'm like, hey, I'm not doing that today. And that's okay too. If you know that your season in waiting is truly about resting, please do that too. And to me, resting it's active. I think it's active to say, I'm going to care for myself in this way. So I still think that's relevant. And there's still these moments in your life where if you skimp on the process, it's going to show up in the product. It just is. So can we slow down in our waiting seasons and recognize them almost? I hesitate to call it a working season because I do want to acknowledge that sometimes it is about breathing and slowing down. But can our work be slow and intentional sometimes? Can our work be feelings work? I think I mentioned that I am also in this season and I'm working on my pacing. Not everything I'm doing is like a work thing. Not everything is like, oh, I want to build this business thing or whatever. Some of what I'm doing is like the grief work. So some of it is, can I show up to this reading or this journal or this meditation in a cadence that I think is actually going to create an experience of release for me? So this is not all about starting a business. And if you are starting a business, then I hope this is helpful to you. And this can still apply in other spaces and in other ways. So that, again, whatever intention we're standing in, even if it's just that we want to feel the relief of our grief or that we want to build different relationship patterns, if that's the season that you're waiting on, you don't have to wait until the day that you set the big boundary against the person that you never thought you could set a boundary with to celebrate. You can celebrate the fact that you realize that you're still struggling in a certain ways and that you brought that trigger to your therapist so that you can work through it. You can celebrate the fact that you read a book about boundaries and now you feel like you have some really good language to start practicing. You should celebrate that you're going to join a support group for folks who maybe struggle with codependence. Like, that is being in your season, and that is how you really plan and position yourself for the outcome, the season of healing that you're working toward. I hope that you see how patience in a way is not so passive. And I want to invite you to really reflect on how you can reframe this season of waiting. Continuing to hold some acknowledgement and validation that it's hard and that we do look forward to it ending, whatever that means for you. And how can you show up in it differently where it doesn't feel like waiting anymore? Because something that also resonates with me is like, today is the only day of your life. Whatever moment you are living in, it is the only day that exists. We remember and recall the life that we've lived, and we can go back to it. We can revisit it. We can look at pictures and photographs and videos, and it's beautiful. We can also envision, believe, and prepare for the future. But when it comes down to the moment that is here, that is the only moment that exists. And again, sometimes the moment that exists is a moment of grief, is a moment of disappointment, is a moment that doesn't feel so good. And sometimes we do want to skip past that moment. Sometimes we never want to live in a moment like that again. And more often than not, the moments are mundane. And if we learn to love the drive to work, if we learn to love the fourth date, if we learn to love the third grade with our kid, if we learn to love the little things that just feel like we're in the middle, imagine how that turns out to build a beautiful life, because it's the only one you have. Do it with me, because it's hard. There's so many days where I'm like, is it Friday yet? Is it another day yet? Is it next month yet when I'm doing this thing? I'm always somewhere else. I'm rarely here. And I've come to understand through this process of how powerful it is to at least try to be here. And I want to invite you to do the same. So if you like this episode, as usual, please like, subscribe, rate, and share the podcast. You can also find me on YouTube, and don't forget to subscribe to the Scene Sunday newsletter, where I share a little bit more tidbits about the episode, and I'm always alerting you when the next episode drops. We've got one more episode in this series coming up next week about being in your season of healing, and I'm really excited to wrap up with that as we get ready for a couple of more interviews headed our way with some amazing clinicians and amazing folks that I'm so excited for you to hear from, and continue to learn different ways that you can show up in your life and feel and be seen. So thank you for being here, and to the Black girl who is saying yes to that first step, who is saying yes to all those steps in the middle, I see you, and I continue to wish you a season in bloom. Take care. Thanks for tuning in to the Black Girl Scene podcast. This podcast is meant for information purposes only and is not meant to substitute for medical advice. Although I'm a licensed therapist, this podcast does not establish a clinical relationship with you, the listener, nor does it replace a relationship with a licensed mental health professional. For more information and resources on finding a therapist or support, please visit www.blackgirlscene.com/